Right now, right now. 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 Oh, I got a real good feeling.
We try to bring you high-quality educational and informational content every single day. Why do you think the price is having such an anemic time? The news story of the hour. Jump onto the chart. Is this the beginning of a massive financial unraveling? We got to add a little addendum to the show map today, so we start here on the daily. Now, we've been looking at the RSI on Bitcoin's daily chart for the last several days. It always has been, but it's been increasing over the last 50 years since the war. The government has been Hey guys, what's going on? Jeb here, and welcome back to Coffee and Crypto Live. This is your week daily morning show where we bring you the latest in everything Bitcoin and cryptocurrency. And in today's episode, we are going to be diving into the Bitcoin price because, as you may know, over the last 8 hours, Bitcoin has gone through a major drop, dropping by over $1,000. Bitcoin attempted to break above its critical resistance at 31K again for, I want to say, the 7th time now. And so far, that breakout has failed. But has the rally itself failed? That's the question on everyone's mind. Has Bitcoin failed to get above $31,000? We are going to go ahead and take a very close look at that. I really appreciate all of you tuning in. We've got Wisely T in chat, Philly Skills 1428 in chat, Dan Nolan, Sean O'Brien, Pedro Valente. Pedro? Is it Pedro or is it Pedro? How do you pronounce that? Pedro, I assume. Silent is in chat. Martin is in chat. Alex Nibo in chat. Silent said, hello, crypto fam. Good to see all of you. Martin said, thanks, Jeb. Pumped for today's info session. Thank you guys so much. Really excited about what we're going to be covering today because today there's been some extreme volatility in Bitcoin, and I would very much like to bring some clarity to what all of that entails. So let's go ahead and jump straight on to CoinMarketCap. As you can see, Bitcoin is trading at $30,192, down 1.4% in just the last hour, down 0.7% in the last 24 hours, down 1.47% in the last 7 days. We have, generally speaking, gone through a small downtrend on the last 7 days. The thing to keep in mind, though, of course, is that the 7-day price action graph is not a moving average. It is just a simple 7-day to 7-day and on change. You can see it's about a 1.5% drop from where we were back over here a week ago. So as I said, the question now becomes, in this very moment, is Bitcoin failing the bullish breakout? Is Bitcoin going through a major correction to the point where it's going to break below this uptrending level of support that we've been respecting ever since the 22nd of last month? That's the question we'll be analyzing today, and we're going to see what happens more than likely live here. Let's start over here on CoinMarketCap because Bitcoin is moving quickly, so let's do the same. Bitcoin is sitting at $30,162. Bitcoin dominance still sitting up very close to 50%. We've gone through a massive rally on market dominance in just the last 6 to 8 months. Ever since December and November, we've seen Bitcoin's market dominance climb all the way from 38% all the way up to nearly 50%. I'm very excited to tell you that that is a sign that a bull market is coming. I'm also very excited to tell you that with Bitcoin having a slight drop on market dominance and the altcoins rallying over just the last few days, that could indicate that the altcoins are starting to gain more confidence following the SEC's attack against the cryptocurrency industry. If you don't remember, a month and a day ago on June 5th, we saw the SEC come out against Binance. Very next day on June 6th, we saw the SEC come out against Coinbase in back-to-back lawsuits that will no doubt be landmark cases for the cryptocurrency industry. Those cases are going to have huge bearing on the altcoin market because in those complaints that the SEC filed against those two corporations, they listed nearly 50 altcoins as crypto security assets was, I believe, the term that they used. So the altcoins have taken quite a pummeling ever since that point in time. However, we've seen the altcoin dominance start to rally slightly over the last week, indicating that Bitcoin's rally may be starting to spill over into the altcoins. We've seen Other go from 13.8% right on down to 13.39%. But we've also seen some of the other cryptocurrencies, such as Ethereum, drop from 19.32% all the way down to 19.27%. In general, though, when we see Bitcoin's market dominance moving down, that obviously shows us that that market dominance is going somewhere. And a lot of that is going into some of the altcoins. When Bitcoin loses 0.5% of market dominance, that market dominance is going somewhere. Where is it going? It's going into the altcoins. All right, let's take a look at the chart. Bitcoin's had a major rally over the first part of today. Today's Thursday, July 6th. Ever since midnight, we saw Bitcoin rally from $30,460 all the way up $1,050 in the span of 4 hours. Major breakout. Many of you guys might have been thinking, oh man, it's time to get in. They saw the volume, but then there was this large red candlestick. This candlestick, luckily for any of you traders, should have been something that would have informed you that, hey, maybe I shouldn't get involved in this trade right now, because this wick up right here indicated by the fact that it was in fact a red candlestick that this was probably not going to last very long. If you look down here on the minute chart, you can see Bitcoin rallied all the way up there, but it stopped short of really breaking above $31,500. If we just go ahead and draw a horizontal line right here at our local high, and then we look back out of the 4-hourly chart, you'll see that this is the exact same level, more or less, that Bitcoin attempted to break above here on Friday, the 23rd of June. If you entered a trade here and you got stopped out, this is where I tell you, first and foremost, make sure you have a lot of confirmation. There was not a lot of confirmation that this was about to continue parabolic, because the second we hit it, we started to reject from it, and then you would have wanted to wait for more confirmation, which you didn't get, so you shouldn't have entered the trade here. That being said, even if you did enter the trade here, this is one of those areas where even if you enter this trade, you should not still be in this trade. If you are, I am sorry to tell you that you made a mistake. Hopefully you will learn from that mistake and you will use a stop loss, because you should never have let a trade run this far negative. Whenever you make an entry on any kind of trade, you want to have a very tight stop loss, and then as you're in more profit, you can open up the stop loss. So if you entered, for example, at $31,523 at the very top, if you accidentally bought the exact top, you should have made sure before you pressed buy or order, whatever it says on your exchange, that in that trade you had already programmed a stop loss pretty much no lower than $31,400. And what that would have done is that if you did have an entry up here at $31,000, at $31,500, even if you did enter right here, and then you had your stop loss at $31,400, by the time we dropped down here and started to trade sideways, you would have exited that trade having lost 0.4%. Honestly, that's a little bit too much. You probably wanted to use an even tighter stop loss than that, maybe more like a 0.2 to 0.1% stop loss. And then you would have said, okay, wait a minute. Bitcoin rallied up here. Excuse me, that's not my drawing tool, that's text tool. You would have, maybe if you did enter up here, you would have gotten stopped out, and then you would say, okay, wait, there's consolidation here. Are we going to break up? Potentially, but I'm going to wait for that confirmation. How am I going to get that confirmation? I'm going to wait for a higher high. I'm going to wait for Bitcoin to break above 31,523, which was the level that we had tested before with high volume. That never came. So if you were trading this based on the principles of trading, at the very most, you should have lost less than 0.5%. Ideally, you wouldn't have entered the trade at all, because I don't believe there was enough volumetric data to give you that entry. So if you did enter here, I'm sorry that you did that. This is where we want to make sure that we're applying the principles of trading. And as you can see, this is, and that's why I'm talking about the principles of trading, because the example trade I gave you actually did have an entry at 31.5. That being said, when we talk about that entry at 31.5, I also encourage you, make sure you have like a 0.1% stop loss. Very, 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 very tight stop loss. And also make sure that you have a real breakout. The second we got above this local high, we stayed up there for less than 60 seconds. That's not a real breakout. As you can see, if we set a local level of resistance at this level right here, just kind of zoom in, make sure that's where we want it. We put our level of resistance here, and then we look back down at the minute chart. You can see we were above last 2 weeks ago's high for less than 200 seconds. And the second we got up there, we had a red spinning top indicating indecision, indicating bearishness, indicating that you shouldn't have been in a long trade. So, not trying to blame anybody if they got into the trade. I'm just letting you know that there are principles of trading that are in place to help protect you in events such as that one. Now, let's look at the longer term time frame out here on the daily chart to get more of an understanding about what Bitcoin is doing and where Bitcoin is going next. First and foremost, it is undeniable that Bitcoin is in a very strong downtrend at this very moment. We are currently breaking below this uptrending level of support, and the question of whether or not this rally continues is definitely up in the air right now. Bitcoin is right above 30K, and if I'm honest, the way this looks, kind of looks like we might have a big crash below $30,000 for a time. We may recover that relatively quickly, but we may end up having a flash crash down there because of the amount of FUD in the market. You can even see that changing live over here on CoinMarketCap with the Fear and Greed Index right now. It's sitting at 59. I believe yesterday it was at 63, 64. It's been moving to the downside. Now, with this amount of bearish volume and with this number of bearish candlesticks on the hourly chart, 4 hours of straight bearishness, 4 hours of straight hiked red volume, as you can see right here. Quite a lot of volume, actually. that does indicate to me that we're having a pretty strong bearish movement. That does indicate to me that the bears are doing something real right now. It does indicate to me that this is potentially a confirmed breakout below this uptrend. I want to give it more time before we really do that, because we're not having a huge spike in volume, but we are having a drop right now. Many of you may be wondering, is Bitcoin about to go through a major crash much farther? What I will say is that there's another level of support right here. That level of support is at $30,000, basically even. Bitcoin may be looking like it's hovering here, and that's because it is. Bitcoin is hovering right now above $30,000, and that's really the level that is tested. If you're trying to trade the breakout below this uptrending level of support, I'm afraid to tell you already missed it. That happened about 15, 20 minutes ago. Actually, it started right around the top of the hour. If you were going to trade that breakout, that happened a little while ago. But if you're looking for another breakout to trade, then a short trade around the break of $30,000 could be in order. What I will encourage you to do is that if you're going to make a short trade right here, know a couple of things. First, you're betting against a strong uptrend, which means that you are the contrarian. And when you're the contrarian, sometimes there's a place for that. But when you're the contrarian, you need to be very, very careful. That being said as well, if you're going to trade a break below $30,000, while keeping in mind that you are the contrarian and you need to be very careful because of that, also keep in mind that since you're the contrarian, it's very possible that Bitcoin puts a giant scam wick down and fakes you out. And so if you don't move very quickly, I'm talking about on the order of seconds with this short trade, then you could very well end up losing your butt. Remember also, I guess I'll give you a bonus tip, make sure that you're using your tight stop losses on shorts as well. Bitcoin has dropped $1,500 in 6 hours. That's a lot of bearish pressure. That's a lot of bearish strength. That means the bears have moved quite far. And so if you are going to go into a short trade with a break below $30,000, then make sure you're using a very, very tight stop loss. If we look over here at the hourly chart, we can see that there is precedent for why that may be necessary. We're seeing that the MACD is crossing bearish on the hourly chart. We're also seeing that the RSI is crossing bearish below the 14 interval moving average right here. And we can also see on Luxalgo, obviously, that it's going to be bearish. We saw the red sell signal come in up here, and the take profit is pretty much right where we are. That is a bullish and a bearish thing. If you're a bear, you're saying, okay, look, there's a confirmed sell signal on Luxalgo. That indicates to me that we're going to have a major drop. That also indicates that we're likely going to move down to the take profit. Now, the bullish side of that is that Bitcoin has actually already hit that take profit, even right now. Be careful about entering a trade right now. You haven't had a confirmation of another leg. We're at the end of one leg. But this leg right here, all the way down to this take profit zone, has pretty much occurred. So if you're a bull, you might think, all right, we had our take profit, and now we might bounce and rally again. And that's what I want you to look out for if you're looking to enter a short trade, because I know how you guys think. I know how you traders and you investors and you cryptocurrency people just like me think, because I'm one of you. I know how you think. You're thinking, oh man, there's a very strong bearish movement right now. I want to look at getting into a short trade because there's opportunity here. And there is opportunity. But just remember, trade legs, trade breakouts. Breakouts already occurred. We already broke out below that uptrending level of support. And guess what? If you had entered a trade there, you would have made 0.88% with no leverage. You would have made, 8.8% with 10x leverage. If we're looking for our next trade, you're looking for the next breakout. Where's the next breakout? The next breakout is below $30,000. I'm not telling you what to do. I am just telling you trade responsibly and understand that if you go into a short trade here, there is money to be made. I could see Bitcoin dropping $500. And why can I see it dropping $500? Well, there's an uptrend right here that I think would be the next level of support. It's this guy right here, and then below that is 28,545. You could absolutely enter a short trade below 30K. Just make sure that you're following the principles of technical analysis and the principles of trading to keep yourself safe. If you're going to go into a short, use a very tight stop loss. I'm talking less than 0.5% at the beginning, and as it expands, then you can use a larger stop loss to give yourself more wiggle room to catch larger movements. If you're up 10% on your trade, then maybe you can afford to have a 1% stop loss. Now, if you're up 10% because you're on 1x leverage, then it's a 0.1% movement. But the point is, the larger the profit that you're already in the trade, not the larger the profit that you might be in, but the larger the profit that you actually are in. Unrealized profit and loss. That's what it says on most exchanges. Unrealized P&L. If your unrealized P&L is over 10%, then have a 1% stop loss. Sure. Have a 2% stop loss. Sure. You have to figure out exactly what the numbers are. But if you have an unrealized profit and loss of 0.1% profit, then you have no business having a 5% stop loss. You're completely out of whack there. You normally want at least a 5-to-1 ratio, if not a 10-to-1 ratio. That meaning that if you're in 5% profit, have no more than a 0.5 to a 1% stop loss. I hope that makes sense. So, did the Bitcoin rally fail? I've talked about if you would have traded the breakout, how you should have gone about that. And if you haven't, then consider that for the future. And now we're looking at another breakout, so make sure you apply that this time if you do trade this. But has the Bitcoin rally actually failed? And we'll discuss that while Bitcoin looks like it's going through a correction. Or excuse me, it is going through a correction, but while Bitcoin very well may be coming down here and testing a break above 30. By the way, if you're a little bit of a risky biscuits kind of guy, if you're the kind of person, kind of a guy, gal, whatever, that trades Bitcoin and you like to be a little risky, get on your exchange right now because there very well may be a good short trade here in just a couple of minutes. Let me just put that out there. If you're looking for a trade, there is an opportunity for a short trade here. Just make sure you're covering your tail with a tight stop loss and wait for those confirmed breakouts. By the way, if we do confirm a breakout below 30K, you're going to see a bigger volume candlestick than we've seen already. This volume candlestick right now for the 10 o'clock hour is going to become the highest volume candlestick right here, bar none, by quite a bit because there's a lot of bullish pressure down here. So as we're approaching $30,000, ensure that you are entering a trade after you have some confirmation and after you yourself as the trader have some confidence that the market's actually going to go through a prolonged downtrend. Because right now we're tickling $30,000. The question of whether or not it'll break is absolutely yet to be determined. But again, as we're kind of watching and analyzing this market, let's discuss whether or not the rally has actually failed. Has this overall uptrend that Bitcoin has been in, and I'm keeping an eye on the price, I'll zoom in if it ends up continuing, and let me just make sure that everything's good in chat. Looks like everybody's good. All right. When we're looking at Bitcoin's rally here, Bitcoin has rallied even to this low where we are right now, $5,200, to the high that we said just 6 hours ago, we've rallied $6,700. I want to give you some context here. First and foremost, when we've rallied that much, that shows you that there is overall confidence in Bitcoin. I showed you another chart just a couple of days ago, I believe it was yesterday actually, showing you that Bitcoin is generally speaking in an uptrend. And you can see that that is still holding today. We just have to adjust the trend line just a little bit just to make sure everything fits. But this general uptrend is still holding. It is still in effect. Bitcoin is still in a general uptrend with a general inclination north. If we break out of that, that is very possible, but that's not the end of the world, guys. There's plenty of times in history on Bitcoin where we have a general uptrend, we break out of it slightly, and then we rally higher than we started. There are plenty of times where you'll break bearish out of what should be a bullish trading channel, and then you'll turn around and go bullish after the bears have gotten, their 5 minutes of fame, their 5 days of fame or whatever, and they have a little bit of room to run. Sometimes the bears need to run because the bulls need to take a break. And that doesn't mean that the entire primary trend has changed. Remember, there are primary uptrends and primary downtrends, secondary uptrends, secondary downtrends. This is a primary uptrend. Primarily speaking, this is a general uptrend. Secondarily speaking, this is a downtrend. Don't get that twisted. This downtrend is subordinate to the longer-term uptrend. This is not yet a primary trend change. I wouldn't call this a primary trend change until Bitcoin broke below at least $28,545. You, of course, have to figure out what that level is for every different market. In this market, I'd say 28,545 constitutes a pretty good confirmation that we've entered a primary downtrend. You might even say if we broke below this uptrend, if you want to be a little bit more aggressive on that. But right now, we have not seen any of that confirmation just yet. So, has the Bitcoin rally failed? No. Bitcoin's in a correction. It is in a correction that is pretty severe. It's a pretty sharp correction. But let's not forget that we did the same thing a week ago. We saw Bitcoin drop $1,600, almost $1,700 in an hour. And yes, now Bitcoin is breaking below 30K. And yes, there is a trade opportunity here for any of you guys that are interested in entering this market. And by the way, I would not necessarily enter that trade just yet unless you have that extremely tight stop loss. If you're having like a 0.1% stop loss, okay, go for it. Take a bet, take a risk. But Bitcoin right now has not confirmed the break below 30K. It's kind of poking around. It's prodding. Whenever you see a break above or below a certain level of support or resistance, you are going to see that level is going to be tested multiple times before it actually breaks. Here in just a second, I wouldn't be surprised to see Bitcoin jump above $30,000 again, even if ever so briefly, as the bulls continue to fight. Now that Bitcoin is continuing to stay below this level, you can see that we're starting to build volume candlesticks that are quite large. The last 10 minutes have been quite large volume. If we look on the hourly chart, you can see this candlestick is starting to become even bigger. As Bitcoin spends more and more minutes down here, this is where you start looking for confirmation. You start saying, okay, wait a minute, we've been down here for a while. We're over $50 below the level. Now we might start thinking about entering that short trade. If you're on exchange right now, this is where you start thinking, should I go into this short trade? Again, let's make sure we have very tight stop losses, but now is the time where you might start thinking, okay, now might be that opportunity. We're staying down here for a time, but I might want to wait another 5 minutes or so just to see if Bitcoin can stay down here. Let's not forget that Bitcoin has only been here for about 60 seconds. Bitcoin could very easily turn around and set in a wick, and you could get scammed out of that trade. If you're entering the trade right now, make sure that you have that very tight stop loss. I am commentating this live because I'm sure several of you guys that are watching this market right now are over on exchange with me on the other tab. I want you to know that this is not yet at a place where it's a guaranteed entry on a short trade. This is not at a place where you're saying, I am definitely going into a short trade here. I can't avoid it any longer. You want to give Bitcoin a little bit more time to actually confirm that it's going to break to the downside. All right, now that we're down here, another minute's passed. We've had a minute candlestick close down here, below here, open and close. Now we're starting to see the bulls come in a little bit. What you need to keep in mind if you're a trader now is that a minute candlestick is closed down here. A lot of times something that you can get for confirmation is a candlestick opening and closing below or above a certain level of support or resistance. In this case, a minute candlestick has actually opened and closed, and in its entirety, wick, body and all, is below $30,000. So now you can start to say, okay, now we've got a little bit more confirmation that Bitcoin's starting to live down here, indicating that the bears are in charge. Remember, above this level, bulls are kind of in charge. Below this level, bears are kind of in charge. As Bitcoin spends more of the recent past below $30,000, you start to get more bearish momentum. You start to get more bearish confirmation. You start to get more bearish confidence. Now, as Bitcoin's starting to rally to the upside, if you haven't entered that short trade now, then you're probably going to want to wait a little bit. You're going to want to see, is this bounce and rally that's occurring over the last 30 to 45 seconds, is this bounce and rally actually going to be able to reverse us back above 30K? Are we going to see Bitcoin break up here and test $30,000? What are we going to do? If you have a paid TradingView account, you can come down here on the second chart and be careful of overanalyzing, but it can give you more detail when you're watching things second by second. You can see down here on the 1 second chart that Bitcoin was attempting to go through a breakout to the upside. It is now turned around and started moving back to the downside. There's a lot of volatility. There's a lot of fighting in here. Make no mistake, Bitcoin has not yet confirmed the breakout below $30,000. Bitcoin is still down here fighting to see whether or not it's going to actually occur. Now that it's down below 29.9, that's where I start to get more confident that there actually is a bearish breakout going to occur, that may be occurring. This is where if I were on exchange, I would heavily consider entering that trade now, because we've been down here for a while. If we do close this red candlestick below 29.9, then we'll have a red-green-red formation. Of course, down here on the shorter-term time frames, we're going to see bearishness. We saw bearish MACD, bearish RSI, 5-minute chart, bearishness. Lux Algo, obviously, need I even show it, is going to be very bearish. On the 5-minute chart, Lux Algo is giving us a price target down here on the 5-minute of like 29.7. Down here on the minute chart, you can see it's giving us a price target right down here around 29.800. The question now becomes, is this going to be a sustained movement, or is Bitcoin going to actually be able to hold here? Because we've seen these scam wicks before. We've seen where Bitcoin will drop a couple $100 below a level of support and then bounce and rally. This is where I would start being a little bit more interested in making a short trade, but I also want to caution you that this is still not confirmed. This is still not confirmed, and you want to make sure you have that tight stop loss, and what we're seeing right now is exactly why I'm saying that. Bitcoin now is back above 30K. And so, see, when we went down here, I started telling you, look, we're considering it. We're considering it. We're considering it. We're considering it. But if we pull the trigger, we dang well better be careful, because Bitcoin has not really had strong confirmation yet. Now Bitcoin is putting in a large green candlestick on the 1-minute chart, indicating that the bulls are gaining strength. Now, we saw that bearish red, green, red, and for a second there, it looked like all hope was lost for the bulls. It looked like a major correction was coming and that you should become a bear for a short. And now that Bitcoin's rallied above 30K, that's the bulls saying, wait a minute, I'm firing a shot across the bow. We're making a counteroffensive. Are we going to succeed? That is what we're going to have to find out. Time will tell whether or not Bitcoin is able to stay up here above $30,000. If Bitcoin is able to stay above $30,000, then absolutely don't go into that short trade. But if Bitcoin comes back down later, as in 20 minutes, an hour, 2 hours from now, and starts breaking below this level, then that's where you would say, all right, Bitcoin set a lower low. That's confirmation. Bitcoin's probably going to break below 30K. Oftentimes, that's what occurs. You saw Bitcoin come down a little bit below this uptrend earlier, bounced above, came down, and then by the time it broke that level again, that's when you enter the trade. Right here. Not right here. Right here. And so that's a similar thing that may occur on Bitcoin. Bitcoin could go through a prolonged bounce even for the next 15 to 20 minutes. And by that time, we might not be on stream. So let me just tell you what to do. If we go through this prolonged bounce and then we fall back down, if we break below this level of support, that being the previous local bottom that we set at 1041, that was just 2 minutes ago, then we would actually start to look for a short trade, because then we have a local low that we can say, all right, we fell down to this level. Now we're dropping lower. That indicates, no, actually the bears are the ones that are truly in charge. And that makes it a little bit easier for us to understand what the market's going to do. So if Bitcoin starts dropping below that level that was set at 1041, go down to your minute chart and you can take a look at that level. It sits at 29,881. If Bitcoin starts dropping below that level with lots of volume, that's where you may enter that short trade. Again, with a very tight stop loss, because you should really never be losing much money at all on trades. You should only ever be losing 0.1, 0.2, 0.3, 0.4%, 0.5% because you entered a trade that had a very high risk reward ratio and had a very tight stop loss. Make sure your stop losses are dynamic. Make sure your stop losses are updated very, very regularly. And when you open the trade, they are ridiculously tight. You do want to be careful of making them too tight. You do want to be careful of making those stop losses too close, because if you end up getting stopped out of 10 trades and you had a 0.5% stop loss, you lost 5%. So you do want to have some wisdom there and discernment, and you're going to have to figure out for yourself exactly what the number is, exactly what the ratio is for your trading style, because it is going to be a little bit different from person to person with how much risk and how much stop loss range you should give yourself. But just keep in mind that you want to have very tight stop losses, whatever that number is for you. I guarantee you it's below 1% on a 1x leverage trade. And so just pay very close attention to what the market's doing and how much you're winning, how much you're losing. If you're getting stopped out 9 out of 10 times, then maybe you want to open them up a little bit, or maybe you want to consider making better entries and waiting for those entries to be a little bit more confirmed. But do be very careful. So again, as for the question, has the Bitcoin rally failed? Again, I would say no. I would say the Bitcoin rally itself has not failed. And the reason I say that is because Bitcoin's rally is a primary uptrend. It is an uptrend of multi-$1,000 movements over the course of several weeks. A 8-hour movement, even if it's $1,500 tall, $1,500 deep, is not large enough to end that movement. For Bitcoin to be in a confirmed downtrend, that meaning that the rally has failed, I would personally need to see Bitcoin drop much farther than it has already. Bitcoin would need to show me that it's going to have a bearish cross on Lux Algo. For it to do that, I would need to see Bitcoin drop below 28,545. Before Bitcoin drops below 28,545, I am convinced that we are still in a general uptrend, albeit we may be in a corrective movement. Primary movement, again, first, second, third. First movement is to the upside. Second movement, yeah, it's to the downside. Third movement could be to the upside or it could be to the downside. Also, tertiary can get a little bit confusing. But the point is, primary uptrend, secondary downtrend. The downtrend is subordinate to the uptrend. The uptrend is the main movement. The downtrend is the movement inside of that larger bullish movement. So pay very close attention to what the market's doing and remember those principles of trading and technical analysis that we have discussed. We'll keep an eye on the chart here for another couple of minutes, and then we're going to wrap it out. Really appreciate all of you guys tuning in. Hope you guys are enjoying today's stream. Simon Huygen? Is it Huygen or Haugen? Huygen in chat. Only been a few hours. Give it a few more. Yep, you do need to see where people do need to see. People do need to keep an eye on all of that. Let's see. Alrighty. Bro, stop shorting at the support. That's what I'm getting at. Be very careful about shorting right when you're hitting the support. You need to make sure that the support is actually broken. Because if you're shorting at the support and you haven't actually seen a confirmed breakout, then you're just kind of being silly. You know, the thing to keep in mind is that support is exactly the wrong place to go into a short. But the exact right place to go into a short is right after the support breaks. So the worst place and the best place to enter a short trade are normally within like 0.5% of each other. It's your job as the analyst to figure out, are you on the side of it being a terrible idea or are you on the side of it being a great idea? And normally there's a very small transition between the two. The reason that makes sense, and just to explain why that makes sense to you, is that if the market has dropped $2,000 and it hits support and it bounces and you enter a short trade, but it hasn't actually confirmed the breakout, then you short it at the worst possible moment. But if the support is actually broken, then the next thing it's going to do is the market's going to go down to the next level of support. So you want to make sure that that if you throw the bouncy ball, it's not bouncing off of the floor, but that it actually broke through the floor and is going to go down to the next floor below you. You want to make sure that it's actually broken through the floor before you enter that short trade and bet it's going to do that, because you're playing with money. Chris Moe in chat said, thanks for doing some live TA. Always enjoy doing live technical analysis. Bogdan T said, order set at 28.3. 28.3, 28.2 might be a decent, just kind of a, like a Hail Mary short trade. Believe that if we break down there, be careful. Use your tight stop losses, cover yourself, and don't get in this idea that you have to predict exactly where the market's going and be perfect on that. But 28.3 to maybe I'd say maybe even 28.2 could be a good short trade if we end up going down there. What watch are you wearing today, Jeb? I am wearing my Vincero Chronos S with a gold case and a blue backing face. Love this watch. My daily driver. It's one of the several watches Vincero sent me, actually, back in the day. Love this watch very much. I've got my other watch over here, actually. This is the one that you guys don't know the story. I was wearing this watch when I crashed my motorcycle and learned a thing or two about humility. And I don't know if you can see it. Let me just see if it shows up here. Just see if this will. See if I can put it in the light. I don't know if you're able to see that, but I don't think you can. But there are some scratches on it. It's got a sapphire coated glass, and it managed not to crack it. And the reason that that's so impressive is because when I crashed my motorcycle, I was going about 15, 20 miles an hour. Not crazy fast, but I was going, fast enough to hurt. Spraying both my wrists. I was in wrist braces for a month, and I landed on my hands, and I don't know exactly how. I think I did this and rolled my hands over, but that watch scraped all along the asphalt at about 10, 15 miles an hour. Again, enough to spray my wrists and, mess. I had a longer beard at the time. Messed up. I had a huge gash under here. Lucky I didn't bite my tongue off. And that watch survived. Definitely learned a thing or two. It was the one time that I ever did anything stupid while not wearing all my gear. Luckily, I was wearing my gloves, or else I'd have permanent scars on my hands. But I was not wearing my helmet, and that was a very dumb decision. I won't do that again. Christian Rousseau said, "How's your kid, bro? Out there giving his mom absolute hell." I can hear him out there. Having a lot of fun. My son is a very, very well-behaved kid, but he's not used to not being in preschool right now. They're off for the week, and so he's out there with his little 12-week-old sister and with his mom, and I can hear him running amok out there. So he's a great kid, and yeah. Do you have a discount code for Vincero? No. We used to do some business with Vincero, but we just found that it wasn't really a sponsorship that anybody was benefiting much from. You guys didn't seem to really take too much interest in buying Vincero watches. I do like the watches, and I would love to have a sponsorship with them again. So I don't have a discount code, but not paid to say this. I don't say things just because I'm paid to anyway. I give you guys recommendations for products that I think are useful, and then if I get a kickback, then great. That helps to keep the company going and the lights on. But no, I don't have a discount code for Vincero, however it's pronounced. That's the cool thing about not having a sponsorship, is I don't have to worry too much about pronouncing it correctly. I can just tell you I think it's a good company. All right. Thank you. Oh, you said, do I still have a discount code? I have a discount code on a few things. I have a discount code on Luxalgo. You can use coupon code JEB30, JEBB, 30 for 30% off at checkout there. But I don't have one on Vincero, whichever. Viatrix said, "Thanks as always, Jeb. Awesome charting. Thank you so much." James A said, "Jeb is the best." Thank you guys so much. I love doing live technical analysis like that. That's one of the cool things about the stream. Sometimes I get to do that. All right, let's read a little bit more chat, and then we're going to wrap it out. Freedom Advocate said, "Good morning. Been real busy. Haven't had time to catch the show live. Still watching when I can. Hope you're doing well. Hope you're all doing well. God bless." Thank you, Freedom Advocate. Thank you very much. Let's see. Good deal. All right, guys. Well, I am going to go ahead and wrap it out. Just remember some of the principles that I told you about. Remember, make sure you use very tight stop losses at the beginning of a trade. Then you can expand them later. Make sure that you are getting a confirmed breakout. We did not confirm a breakout below $30,000 earlier. We did not. We came very close, and you heard that. You can go back and watch that. I said that. We're close, but we have not actually shown me that we have confirmed a breakout below that level. We need to see a little bit more. So, and that does take some expertise and some wisdom to know whether or not it's actually broken bearish. But make sure that you are waiting for that confirmed breakout, and make sure that you're investing in your experience trading to be able to find the confirmed breakouts, because it does take a little bit of feeling. It does take a little bit of instinct to know that it hasn't confirmed a breakout. I could tell that it hadn't quite confirmed it, but it was dang close. And if it hasn't actually confirmed it, do not enter the trade. You're going to be so much happier if you enter a % late than if you enter and then you get stopped out for nothing. All right, guys. Really appreciate all of you tuning in. We are going to go ahead and wrap it out. Before we go, I do just first want to thank each and every single last one of you for watching, as always, and I will see you guys in the next video. Peace.